Welcome back to a brand new video on the channel, guys. So what I have for you guys today is going to be my Championship Week 28 score predictions. So of course, last weekend in the Championship, it was a bit hectic really. We only went ahead and had 6 games that were played due to the awful weather conditions last week. So hopefully this week we'll have a full fixture list and none of these games will be postponed. So if you've not seen this series before, let me quickly explain how it all goes down. So every weekend I give you guys my Championship score predictions for what I think will happen with each game going on in the Championship. FIFA 18 also makes their score predictions, but what I'm of course interested to know is what you guys have to say. So all of this week's fixtures will be listed in the description down below. Then you guys can easily go ahead and make your score predictions, and then if you do successfully manage to get any of your predictions right, I will include your comment at the start of the next video. And speaking of that, actually, I will include your guys' comments on screen now, so if any of you guys did successfully manage to get any of your score predictions correct this week for the midweek fixtures, I will include your comments on screen now. And fair play to everyone who did get a midweek score prediction correct. It was a pretty good one in the Championship. We had some mental games and some pretty good goals going in as well, so let me know as well down below what were your thoughts on all of this week's midweek action. But enough of that, guys, let's hop into some score predictions. So our first game sees Burton go up against Bristol City. Now quite an interesting one, of course, both sides battling it out at opposite ends of the table, and Burton at the moment not in the best of form. They've gone ahead and lost their last 2 matches in the Championship and are pretty much, you know, they are one of the favourites to go down at the moment. But going up against this Bristol City side, it's not actually a bad time to be playing them. Bristol City themselves don't find them in a great run of form, of course. They went ahead and lost that game in midweek to Preston, where they weren't playing awful, but they didn't just have that clinical nature about them going forward. And of course, going into this game as well, they're going to be without Aidan Flint, who picked up a red card in that match, and I believe Joe Bryan as well. He went ahead and picked up his 10th yellow card of the season, so he'll also be missing for this one. So with quite a depleted defence that Bristol City will have going into this game, it gives Burton a chance to get something from it, in my opinion. And with Bristol City, you know, there's been quite a few people questioning their mentality at the moment. You know, the levels they set for themselves earlier on in the season, they've not really been living up to that recently. And of course, with them recently dropping out of the playoffs, it's going to be pivotal for them to be going ahead and winning a game like this. But I've got a gut feeling Burton may frustrate them for this one, so I'm going to go ahead and back this one to finish as a 1-1 draw, whereas FIFA's backing 1-0 Bristol City. Here we see Cardiff go up against Birmingham, and of course Birmingham now within the management of Gary Monk. It'll be very interesting to see if he's capable of steering this side away from relegation. Myself, I'm not overly convinced at the moment, of course. He went ahead and lost his first game in charge in midweek, albeit it wasn't an awful performance from Birmingham. I thought they did create a couple of decent chances in that 1-0 defeat against Middlesbrough, but going away to this Cardiff side, it's not going to get much easier for Gary Monk, of course. Cardiff currently under one of the best runs in the Championship, still putting that pressure on Wolves at the top of the Championship. Currently they're just 6 points behind them after, of course, both of them went ahead and won in midweek. And with Birmingham, I feel like with Gary Monk, the defence he's working with is pretty good. You know, there's a chance there that they could be keeping a couple of clean sheets, but going forward for Birmingham's where Gary Monk's going to have to unlock something that we've not seen from them so far this season. And with them going up against one of the best defences in the Championship in Cardiff this week, I just can't see them scoring in this one. And with Cardiff being so efficient with grinding out their results at the moment, I'm going to be backing this one to finish as a 1-0 home victory for Cardiff, and FIFA's going to agree with me. Then we see Hull City going up against Norwich, and Norwich at the moment, they're just becoming a complete draw merchants really. Every game they seem to be playing at the moment is just ended in a draw. You know, they've had a couple of bland performances recently, Norwich. You know, some of their attacking flair just seems to have dissipated recently. You know, defensively they still seem to be quite solid, but going forward they just seem a bit rigid at the moment, Norwich, and I'm not sure why that's the case. Going up against this Hull side, of course, they went ahead and lost in midweek, still just sat above that relegation zone. But some good news for Hull fans, of course, was we saw that Abel Hernandez did return in midweek. He went ahead and scored as well in the defeat they had against Millwall. But getting that striker back in Abel Hernandez, who they've missed for pretty much the entirety of the season, is going to be massive for them into this run-in now, because, you know, I'm in no doubt he is a top quality striker in the Championship. But for this one, with Norwich's record recently, I can see this one heading towards another draw, so I'm going to back this one to finish as a 1-1, whereas FIFA's saying it'll be 1-0 Norwich. Then we got Ipswich Town going up against Sheffield United. Quite an interesting one actually, as of course both these two sides did have quite contrasting times in midweek. Of course, Ipswich went ahead and picked up that impressive 2-1 away victory over Sheffield Wednesday, with Martin Wycombe going ahead and bagging 2 goals in that one. One a very nice set piece actually, and good to see Martin Waghorn back within the goals. You know, his form had seemed to be dropping off a little bit recently, but to have him on top form going into the end of the season will be big for Ipswich. Sheff Utd, of course, they went ahead and got beat 3-0 to Fulham, and realistically, you know, you can't really hold it against them. Fulham are just in another level at the moment with the level of performances that they're putting in, but Sheff Utd, they're going to be wanting to rectify that as soon as possible. Still well within the hunt for the top 6 come the end of the season, and Chris Wilder so far this season, he has been that sort of manager where Sheff Utd come off the back of the performance like that. Normally he seems to get that bounce from the players. He knows how to get into their psyche and get a reaction from them, and for that reason I am going to back them for the 2-1 away victory. I have the feeling this game could be quite scrappy actually. Of course, Ipswich have been fairly inconsistent this season, so I'll go with 2-1 United. FIFA same, a 0-0. Then we got Middlesbrough going up against Barnsley, and Middlesbrough lately have had a very good home record under Tony Pulis, and the man in form for them is Patrick Bamford. His link-up play at the moment with Adama Traore really is putting teams to the sword, of course. They went ahead and picked up that 1-0 away victory over Birmingham in midweek, and going up against another side at the bottom of the table, of course, Barnsley currently just sat 2 points above the relegation zone, and, you know, for Barnsley, I'm just not sure. I'm honestly not sure about Barnsley at the moment. Whether they'll stay up, I'm really 50-50 on it, and I'd be interested to hear how some Barnsley fans are currently feeling about the Championship at the moment. But going up against Middlesbrough with some of the attacking quality they've got at the moment, they've got players in form. I'm going to be backing a 2-0 home victory for that one, and FIFA's going to say 2-0 Barnsley. Then our next game could actually be a really exciting one. We've got Millwall going up against Brentford. Now, I'd say that both these two sides still do have the slight possibility of sneaking into the playoffs come the end of the season, of course, with Millwall's currently unbeaten run stretching to 10 games now, and their home record just being ridiculous at the moment. Currently, they're just 6 points off the top 6. Brentford just a point above them, 5 points off the top 6. So this game is a real big one, a real clash of the titans for the sides who are chasing that top 6 at the moment. And honestly, I could see this being quite an open game actually. Of course, both sides went ahead and won in midweek, and Brentford on their day, you know, a terrific attacking side and really could do some damage to Millwall's defence in this one. But with the character of this Millwall side, you can't write them off from any game at the moment, and with their unbeaten run, I'm going to be backing this one to finish as a 2-2 draw. I could see quite a few goals being scored in this one, and it could be a good game of football, so I'll say 2-2. FIFA's going to back a 0-0 draw. Then our next game features my club Preston going up against Fulham, and this is a huge game in both of our seasons in my opinion, and I'm really looking forward to this one taking place at Deepdale, of course. Fulham picked up a fantastic victory in midweek, a 3-0 home one over Sheffield United, and Preston as well picked up a huge result, a 2-1 victory against Bristol City, which now leaves Preston just 1 point off the top 6, and of course Fulham at the moment just 5 points behind Cardiff. And realistically, with the form that Fulham are in at the moment, I believe they're now unbeaten in their last 14 games in the Championship. If you know Cardiff are going to slip, it's going to be Fulham who's going to be catching them with the form they're in at the moment. And honestly, I think Preston are in a good moment at the moment. You know, now we do have the attacking quality of Shawnee Maguire, who's come back from injury. I believe he's played about 60 minutes since he's come back, and he's already scored 3 goals for us, of course. Scored the winner against Bolton, scored the winner against Bristol City as well. His form and pace going forward, it just gives us another dynamic, really. And I honestly think this game could be on a knife edge. And with how many games Preston have drawn this season, and our record against the top 6 seems to be better than our record against the bottom 6. So I do think we'll give Fulham a game in this one. One thing I'm not looking forward to doing is facing Mitrovic. He's in unbelievable form at the moment, and last season when he was at Newcastle, he went ahead and scored 4 goals against us in the 2 league games we had. So he's most certainly going to score. But for this game, I'm going to back us to get a draw from it. I'm going to say I'll finish as a 2-2. FIFA's going to say 2-0 Fulham. I'm looking forward to it though. Then we see QPR going up against Sunderland, of course. QPR managing to get a point in midweek against Derby County. Massimo Luongo popping up with the late goal to go ahead and snatch that for them. Going up against Sunderland, who of course are still rooted to the bottom of the Championship. I just don't feel ever confident really in going ahead and backing a Sunderland victory. And Sunderland at the moment, the defensive mistakes that they're making just seems to let their mentality slip really. You know, when they go a goal behind, you never really have that much confidence in them getting back into it, despite them going ahead and doing it at Bristol City and against Middlesbrough as well. But for this one, QPR, it's a decent home record they still currently boost, and with the pressure that I think they'll put this Sunderland defence under at Loftus Road, I'm going to back a 2-1 2-1 home victory. You know, I'm just not sure where Sunderland go from here at the moment. They're currently 4 points off safety, and if they aren't picking up results in games like this, it's going to be curtains for Sunderland. So I'm going to say 2-1 QPR. FIFA's going to say 1-0 QPR. Our next game then sees Reading going up against Leeds United. Two sides who really aren't playing great at the moment. Reading, they still do need to pick up a couple of results, you know, from now until the end of the season to guarantee that they won't go down, you know. I doubt they will, but they are currently sat 5 points above the relegation zone, so you can never really say never in the Championship. But going up against this Leeds squad, it's a good time to be playing Leeds at the moment. Definitely they're not in a good run of form, you know. They went ahead and lost in midweek to Wolves, and of course they lost the game before that to Middlesbrough as well. Coming off the back of 2 consecutive 3-0 losses for Leeds, they can't be in a good state at the moment, you know. Some of that attacking flair that Leeds have got just seems to have dissipated recently, you know. Lasogga's not really been getting a service, and defensively Leeds have been all over the place at the moment. And with how Reading like to play, you know, they are quite a frustrating side to play against with how they like to hold the ball. I'm actually going to go ahead and back a 1-0 home victory for this one. I just feel like with the Leeds confidence level as low as they currently are, Yapstan needs to get a result really in a game like this. So I'm going to back a 1-0 Reading. FIFA's saying it'll be a 0-0. The next game sees Sheff Wednesday going up against Bolton. Two sides who aren't in brilliant form at the moment, you know. Sheff Wednesday went ahead and lost again in midweek, a 2-1 defeat to Ipswich, and realistically this season has just been a write-off for Sheff Wednesday, you know. The players at the moment that are fit for them, they don't have any confidence, and the link-up play between them just doesn't seem to be there, you know. They just need to have a rethink really, get some players back fit in the summer, and then just go again next year, you know. Going up against this Bolton side who I have seen quite a bit of criticism being thrown at their manager Phil Parkinson recently, so I'd be interested to hear as to what some Bolton fans think of that at the moment. And of course they did have a decent performance in fairness in midweek, you know, against Reading, managing to pick up that 1-1 draw against them. And in a game like this where both attacks aren't really on sparkling form at the moment, I actually see this one heading towards a stalemate, so I'm going to go ahead and back this one to finish as a goalless draw, whereas FIFA's saying it'll be 1-0 Wednesday. Then the evening kickoff on Saturday sees Aston Villa going up against Wolves. So of course we've got third going up against top in the Championship, and this is a big game, you know, make no mistake about that. Of course we've seen some Wolves fans been pretty worried recently. Of course they managed to get back to winning ways in midweek, but before that they really seem to have a bit of a stumble in their form at the moment. But with that 3-0 victory over Leeds, their confidence should be restored to a certain degree. And in this game as well, they've also got Ruben Neves to add back into that midfield to give them another contributing factor. But I don't think Wolves can get too carried away with that result in midweek. You know, obviously it was fantastic, and realistically they probably could have won about 7-0 with some of the chances they had against Leeds. But Leeds, they didn't really put Wolves under that much pressure, and it's going to be a completely different game against Villa going away for Wolves. Of course we have seen quite a few cracks in that Wolves back line, and Aston Villa are the sort of side who will be able to take advantage of them. And so I'm looking forward to this one, and I have changed my mind quite a few times about the way I see this one going. You know, it probably would make the Championship running a bit more interesting if Villa were to go ahead and win this game, and with some of the capabilities that they've got going forward, they're more than capable of going ahead and doing that, you know. That Wolves defence I'm still not overly convinced by, but for this game I do see it heading towards a draw actually. I know that's the boring answer, but I'm going to be backing this one to finish as a 1-1, whereas FIFA's backing a 2-0 Villa. And then as the Sunday kickoff, we've got a big derby going on in the Championship. That sees Nottingham Forest go up against Derby County, and although these two sides are sat in, you know, fairly opposite ends of the table, it's actually the flip side of that when you look at the form book at the moment. Nottingham Forest without a doubt playing the better football than Derby are at the moment, and Derby, there just seems to be something in their DNA really to get into a really good position in the Championship, and then around about March time they just seem to fall away and bottle it really. I don't know what it is with Derby, but with some of the recent performances that they've been putting in, I'm fancying Forest for this game. Of course Aitor Karanka, it did take him quite a while to get going with this Forest side. You know, we saw them have quite a few awful performances really, but they're unbeaten now in their last 5 or 6 games in the Championship, and with Derby not winning really in their last 5, I'm going to be backing Forest for this one. I just feel like with that attacking flow that they've got going forward, now that Lee Tomlin's given them an extra dimension really, Derby's defence has been looking all over the place recently. Individual errors have been creeping into their game, so this could be a big one for Derby to get their season back on track. But with how Forest are playing, there's going to be a great atmosphere at the City Ground. I'm going to back a 2-1 home victory for this one. FIFA's going to back a 1-0 derby. I'm interested interested to hear what you guys have to say about that one. So guys, there you have it. There are my Championship Week 28 score predictions. So do you guys agree with my score predictions? Let me know down below. But apart from that guys, that will now wrap it up for this video. So if you have enjoyed, make sure you do leave a like. It is always massively appreciated. As well as that, make sure you subscribe for a bit of regular Championship content. But apart from that guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.